Welcome to the Nerdtastic in 3D podcast.
It's Nerdtastic in 3D. Oh, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. Yes, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. It's Nerdtastic
in 3D. Bong, bong.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Nerdtastic in 3D 3.0. That's all we have for you tonight. So after 10 weeks, 2.5 months, we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back.
It's like we never left.
Not with the lack of trying to be back,
No.
mind you.
We are back. Thank you so much for bearing with us in our absence of entertainment to you. We have a fun story to tell you. So here's the whole thing.
For episode Seis Ocho,
Yeah, episode
we
number
had to look.
68.
We had to look it up. What episode it was?
It's true. It's true. It's been that long. So there's a reason we've been gone for so long. Whether you follow us on Facebook or not, I'll kind of just share you. Basically, we had been recording from Disney, from the studio that I work at, Disney Toon Studios, and basically things didn't quite work out for us to keep recording there. There's no more story there. Honestly, there's nothing else to share.
Just asked us to quietly walk out of the building.
There is legitimately nothing. There's nothing else interesting to share with that story. It's just
We were under the belief that it was always better to ask for forgiveness than ask permission. And as it turns out, folks and listeners, maybe go the other way around.
After all the litigations were settled, we're back.
Which, what are you messing with, Jason?
nothing. I'm here. I'm good. I'm
Present
I'm
and
in this.
engaged.
So basically, we had been recording at Disney Toon Studios,
Which thank you, Disney Toon, for
Yeah,
the time
and-
we did spend there. It was
absolutely
awesome.
had a lot of fun there. And basically now we have been searching for a new home for Nerdtastic in 3D, searching for quite a while, not exactly knowing where we were going to land, but definitely with 7 guys on the show. Without a place to call home, it's a little hard because there's a lot of equipment to set up the show. We kind of need a place that's central. We all live in all over Los Angeles, but we work in a very contained area, all right next to each other.
And to answer some questions I got from people who came back on, a lot of the big question was, well, why don't you guys just Skype? And do like a lot of the other podcasts that are kind of out there and they Skype in together or else.
That's a really good question. It really is.
And I did, and I thought, and it was actually really fast. The answer is really fast. Is what we loved about the show in general is that the idea for the show stemmed from a lot of our lunchtime conversations that we had when me, Jason, the group of us all worked together, and that led to we love spending the time together. Actually, in the space where we could see each other, we could laugh at each other, and there's something kind of lost. Being actually one of the guys in our show who's ever Skyped in, there was something that was lost with me not being there. That I think we all appreciate being in the same kind of room.
There's an energy level that you can draw on each other, draw from each other, and it just it's not that you can't have interesting and meaningful discussion. You absolutely can, but there's a barrier there. It's not like instant communication and body language, and you're reading, my uncomfortableness with your sexy jokes. And
Screws all the comedy timing up.
That's it too.
Totally
Yeah.
screws the comedy.
Yeah.
up.
We would not laugh at Sean's jokes.
Having Sean Carney rant about something through a monitor is just not as good
Sean,
as having it in person.
the problem with what you just said is that we're not funny, so we have no comedy timing. Period.
Yeah.
Fennel has moments.
So this evening,
Comedy.
this evening you probably noticed there's just 3 of us this evening. We're 4 men down.
2.5.
But it's myself, Jason Carter,
Jack Eckler.
Sean Fennel.
and we'll kind of give a recap of who we are in a minute. But to finish up the story, we sort of went on hiatus, just kind of figuring out what exactly we were going to do. And we are very happy to announce, Jack, why don't you do the honors, my friend?
that after a
Or a wart growing on someone else's ass.
basically, like Jason said, we needed a space, and because we don't make any money from this, we needed somebody to donate space, and we had no luck. Actually, we tried to get over to Jason Pecco and Sean Kearney's establishment, and because it's still part of the Disney umbrella, they said thanks for playing, but we don't want you to be our ward either.
Let's just say that Disney is a large organization, and sometimes there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through in big organizations.
They have interests to protect.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, not saying our new facility, which I got coming back, I under radar, even from the guys on the show. I took it upon myself as a sort of a mini mission that I was going to get us a spot. And the one I thought would be unlikely, but I was really going to try for, was to have it here at DreamWorks. I said, well, there's 3 of us here. Jason's right down the road, so it's close.
I was an employee for a long time.
Yeah, it keeps us really in proximity. I'm like, damn, if we could just have it here. And I go, the one advantage is we're a large animation studio, but we're not Disney. There's a slightly different corporate mentality here that I thought, man, maybe if I do this right, I could get us in here, and if I worded it right. And I spent a good month. I take that back. I've taken almost the time since we've been gone, back and forth with people here. And folks, we're here. DreamWorks has taken it upon to take us in and allow us to record here.
We're no longer podcasty orphans.
And that's awesome. So thank you to DreamWorks. Thank you, Jeffrey Katzenberg, for allowing us to record the show here and have a home.
Absolutely. And this isn't
until they kick us out for just whenever they decide to kick us out.
Not that we're admitting to anything at our last home, but let's just say that now our home is official.
Yes, we should be here for episode 100. How's that?
Yeah, absolutely. Huge thanks. We're super, super excited. Live from DreamWorks, which means if any of you jokers out there are ever going to come guest star on the show, you get to check out the DreamWorks campus.
We can't take you anywhere, but you will get to see this amazing dining room that we're sitting in right now. There were some pro quos equating with having the show here, but
it's very true.
It's still pretty awesome to have Jason back over here weekly.
Yeah, really exciting. Love this place. Saw countless people on the way. I can't remember how many people on the way and got to say hi to. So, yes, we're back. So, my name's Jason Carter. I am currently in the role of stereoscopic supervisor for the Planes franchise at with the Walt Disney Studios.
Congratulations, which is in the theater.
Thanks. We'll get back to that in a minute.
I'm Jack Eckler. I'm a senior crowds artist at DreamWorks here, and I'm on How to Train Your Dragon 2 at the moment.
And I'm Sean Fennell. I'm a crowd supervisor
slash
crowd department chair.
The chair.
And I'm
like a boss.
Yeah, I sit in a chair like a boss. But and I'm working on Home.
Cool. And we're an entertainment industry podcast, for those of you who don't know, and we're pretty much just a bunch of entertainment guys from all over different parts of the entertainment industry talking to you about anything and everything that we find like fun, interesting, nerdy, you name it. So welcome back. This is 3.0. You're going to see some exciting new things and some things that should sound familiar and have a similar vibe to some old stuff. But
just happy to be back.
Yeah, missed you guys. I did. I genuinely missed you guys.
Missed Sean's
voice.
Missed
hanging out.
So somber.
So let's first, we got a lot of stuff to cover, obviously. We come up with an hour and 15 minutes worth plus of material every week. So bear with us because this show is going to be 10 hours long.
How is your summer break?
You got to tell me everything.
But the first thing we got to talk about is congratulations to you because Turbo came out. You were
You remember working on that?
That was what I was trying to think. Josh Labrat's not here. He was on the show too, and God, so much has happened. We haven't really.
No, a lot. Has happened.
That we haven't really talked about.
I watched like all of the James Bond movies in chronological order, all of the Venture Brothers, all of Life. A whole bunch of shit happened. It was amazing.
Dude. I mean, the movie had horrible timing in the marketplace, but as it turns out, every one of the animated movies other than Despicable Me kind of did. Then that blew everybody out of the water. Internationally, though, we did what we thought we were going to do, and I think it killed it. I'm kind of whatever about that movie. I think it's still a cool movie. I actually enjoyed watching it, and I can't down it. I'm happier the movie I'm on now, and I think it'll potentially do better, and hopefully the timing's better. But such is life. Because at the same note, Jason, you have a movie currently in the theaters as well, selling more merchandise than my movie.
That's very
And by
true.
movie, I mean Wings.
That's very, yeah.
Oh, no, it's not Wings.
Wings, the Russian ripoff. I'm super excited to say that my first major creative supervision role on a film, it's out. It's called Planes. Dane Cook voicing the main character. We talked about it a little bit. I've been working on it for. I worked on it for about 2 years with Disney, and now I'm on to Planes 2, which is coming out next summer in a theater near you. So some interesting things. Very exciting. Thank you to everybody who supported us and checked it out. Quick little side note: we got the Aryan Killer is back.
Is the KK back?
And so is
We missed you.
Insanye West. We
Justin,
missed you.
oh my gosh. I don't even see Justin on Xbox anymore, you Wisconsin bastard.
We've missed you. Welcome back to the show. Thank you for listening. So, one thing you were talking about, Jack, that we wanted to discuss a little bit. Now, we have to be, obviously a little careful about how much we talk about given what our industry is. But I really wanted to discuss how interesting our two movies are in comparison to one another because of what's happening in the industry. So Turbo is a movie that came out an opening weekend. Usually, in case anybody doesn't know, the opening weekend of a film is its biggest performing weekend, and that makes up for about 30% of your total, domestic box office. And then it sort of trails down from there. But that opening weekend is really significant and sets the trend for how you're going to perform through the entire theatrical run. So Turbo comes out
Domestically,
yes, correct. So Turbo comes out and it does $21 million its opening weekend, which is a pretty weak performance for opening weekend.
It was a 5-day weekend opening too, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think
opened
it
in the
did
middle of the week.
early.
I think it did
Yeah.
higher. I think it did like 30 for the 5-day.
Yeah.
I think and so $135 million was the production budget. And so not a great performance. Planes comes out, and Planes makes $22 million. So right there, same place. But the difference there that's interesting is the production budget listed on Box Office Mojo is $50 million, which means in one weekend, Planes made half of its production budget back, where Turbo didn't even make a quarter of it. And so it's very interesting in the animation world right now because there's 3 movies that have done incredibly well. 4 major animated movies came out this summer, right? It was Monsters University, Turbo, Despicable Me 2, and Planes. And of those, the ones that have done uber successfully are Monsters University, which was done domestically. It was made domestically by Pixar, and Despicable Me 2, which was an outsourced model. So it's a company that's based in Santa Monica, but they have a studio on the other side of the world. The other 2 films that have not performed as well are Turbo and Planes. If you look at the money they've earned, it's not super exciting. However, percentage-wise, it is pretty interesting to kind of look at what's happening. Not to say that this is a trend or anything like that, just a very interesting observation. We at Disney Toon Studios, we are making our movies for a little bit less money, and the question is if the budget is a third-ish production budget, are we making a third of the quality of the films? That's kind of the question mark.
well, and the business model on both films from a production standpoint or from our 2 studios are different.
Absolutely.
And I mean, so people are aware of that to know where the cost savings are, and they don't go, well, why didn't DreamWorks just spend $50 million?
Yeah, well, there's certainly a quality bar associated with $135 million. There is, no doubt about it. If you go watch Turbo and then you go watch Planes, I think if you watch it, you'll notice a quality difference. You get what you pay for. And that is something that animation studios have prided themselves on, as they should. But what's telling is what the box office says. What are audiences paying?
What are the consumers caring about?
Exactly. Yeah. So that is really interesting. I don't have a point to it other than it's been interesting to analyze this summer. You guys have any thoughts?
Well, I think I
went.
Go ahead, Sean.
I went to SIGGRAPH and watched a couple of the Pixar talks, and it turns out that the consumers really don't care about a lot of the quality because Pixar decided to not put a lot of that quality in some of their work, and it didn't seem to affect the running of the show.
Pixar's just got that brand name.
They do. They have that brand name that helps. But yeah, I mean, they can kind of. It seems like sometimes they pick and choose their battles.
Yeah,
I heard
in different ways.
Yeah, my kind of take on it's. I heard just the other day on the radio on a show. There's a local radio station out here called KCRW in LA, and they have a segment show. It's a podcast, really small. It's called The Business, and it just talks about the entertainment business. And the woman had on there the one of the writers from the LA Times, who's their entertainment writer, and they were talking about this. They were talking about the conversation in general was about this is one of the biggest flop years for big budget movies. Pacific Rim, a lot of these movies that were $200-300 million movies just tanked. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about, though, like how studios are looking and have for years now, and especially as of recent, been dumping all this money into these big productions, thinking they're just going to kill it like Avatar. But then the movies that technically have been killing it have been these smaller, independent, like say horror movies, like The Conjuring.
Sure.
These things that are taking just a minimal budget.
I'm conjuring up some memories and trying to know what the heck you're talking about.
Horror
I don't know
film.
what The Conjuring.
Yeah,
Never
it's a
heard
horror.
of that.
That is exact. But
Conjuring is a low budget horror.
Exactly.
It's a horror film that was made on a lower budget than
with
normal
new
mainstream.
New directors.
Yeah, new directors.
I don't know why. Sorry. I totally heard New Directions and then thought Glee.
You go off.
So I mean, look back 10, 15 years to what you call it, the other horror movie.
Blair Witch.
Yeah, the Blair Witch Project.
So did
the very
Paranormal
first Blair Witch
Activity.
Project, Paranormal Activities. Those, let's go out and just use what's there and make a movie, and that's kind of the same concept, and that has hit every decade,
now,
at least once.
The other example they use, and I found this, Jason, you might find this interesting, being a religious man, was Mark Brunette, who's the producer of Survivor and all the other reality shows. I mean, he's known for that.
Yeah, big reality producer.
He invented that format.
Right. He's never done scripted. Now, his wife, I forget her name, she's an actress, they got together and said, hey, he had been approached tons of time to do scripted, but he's like, well, I don't have time. Well, they got approached to do, they both wanted to do the Bible. And they did, it's called The Bible on the History Channel, and they approached this, and they actually talked to Jeffrey Katzenberg, and it killed it for history. Killed it. Like, number one, they got nominated for Emmys, all this, and this is just recently. You can watch the show that's on there. Supposedly it's really, really good. What was fascinating, they did this 10-part miniseries or whatever for a budget of $22 million. And he basically went into talking about that. Like, these other TV shows that are costing this much and these films that are costing this much, he's like, my genre, I get what they give me, and I'm just used to making this work. So in my eyes, even when we started, no matter what they were going to tell me money-wise, we were going to make this work on whatever budget. And it just in general got me thinking that I think a lot of the mindsets on these studios aren't thinking about that. They just see it, well, if we throw this much at it, it's got to hit. Because they brought up Lone Ranger, which basically they were talking about franchise movies.
You want to talk about
franchise movies?
Expensive just flop of a film,
dude. But it was, I didn't think of it from the way they put it. They put it as if, when I say franchise, meaning the studios are banking. And instead of what they used to do, which would be like, hey, let's throw $100 million at this, $75 million. If it hits, part two will throw money at this and make it whatever. Instead of, the studios now are banking on what they're calling already a franchise movie and dumping it. So like Lone Ranger was their one example. They were like, Lone Ranger was anticipated to be the Western Pirates franchise. And it just tanked.
What would be interesting to me is, like, what would Disney's position be if they came out with the next Star Wars sequel and it tanked? It's probably not going to, because there are so many fans that it would probably just bring in tons of money even if it sucked because of the fans. But if it did tank, what would that mean for that franchise that they're banking on? Because they are banking on it.
Oh, there's no question.
right?
So the Lone Ranger.
Are you on box office mode?
The Lone Ranger is a lone film that no
so
one saw.
Usually what people tell you in the industry is, this isn't always true, but generally speaking, for a studio to be happy with a film, it has to have a 50% profit margin, right? Or 100% profit margin, which means you have to make your production budget back and then double that
Domestic.
Well, because of the theaters take.
Worldwide, I think, is usually the target. And there's marketing costs, which usually nowadays for a big film float around the $50 million mark. So the Lone Ranger. Sorry, I just find this terrible. The Lone Ranger's production budget was $215 million.
Dear God.
Worldwide, the Lone Ranger earned $217 million. That's $2 million in the black, my friends. Oh, no, it's not, because there's $50 million of marketing costs. So it is absolutely one of the more expensive flops in the last 10 years.
Well, that got me thinking about Turbo. So I pulled it up real fast. So production budget was 135.
Yep.
Which, honestly, for people who don't know, for an animated film, that's actually pretty low. That was a newer, lower one for us. Outside of the outsource model, that was especially from Pixar's standpoint. I mean, that's a low number.
Yeah, the average production budget for a feature animated American produced film is 120 to 150.
For us, it's usually been around 150, so that's a good number for us. So domestically, yeah, Jason, 70 as of right now, we're at 77 million. Foreign, we made 64 million. So worldwide, 142 million.
So what's the total?
142.
142 total. Okay.
So we're over. But then again, the movie was also, my understanding, designed to be a marketing kind of thing, and we also had a lot of tie-ins that aren't in these numbers. So a lot of the movie was paid for up front by companies who were in the movie.
Partnership and merchandising.
Yeah.
So to us, those numbers are reflecting that it's already successful to us.
Right.
And yeah. But it is interesting because it's not like 300 million we made or 500 million.
Yeah. The funny thing is, to go back to kind of our original conversation about this, so planes cost $50 million to make. Let's assume there's $50 million of marketing costs there. Then there's huge toy sales and all that stuff. Same with Turbo. So these movies do end up making money. I think the difference is, if I was an executive, I'd be looking at a film and I'd be saying, all right, it costs, let's just say, roughly a third of the cost of a typical animated film, and it's 85% quality, 80% quality. So you take a quality hit, but it's not a third of the quality. Mm-hmm. And so it's very, very interesting. I'm not drawing any of my own conclusions here. I don't think that the book has been written in any one direction because, obviously, if Planes had earned Despicable Me 2 numbers, we might see the writing on the wall. It didn't do that, so I'm not sure what exactly the future holds for the industry, but it is very interesting nonetheless.
So do you think that Disney is marketing that movie as strenuously as they had marketed other movies that had higher budgets? We
had the exact same, from what I've been told, the exact same scope and marketing budget as Wreck-It Ralph did.
Okay.
That's what I've been told. So that's kind of it in our professional lives. I know we can't say too much about this, but Jay Pecco and Sean Kearney, who are regulars on the show, they are working on a very exciting new project that will be coming to an iPhone and I'm guessing an Android device near you in the near future. So they'll be sharing some of that when they get out of crunch time and can join us again. But I think we should probably move on to an event that's taken place in the time that we've been gone. An event that is often hailed and heralded as the epic epicenter, the mecca of all nerddom, Comicon. Jack, how was Comicon?
Sean, you bastard! I wanted you to come again.
I didn't get to go.
And I don't mean come again, like come again.
Come again.
It's for you. What we didn't tell you early on is we actually did try to bring you 2 podcasts.
Dos.
On our long drive down to San Diego, when I convinced Jason Carter to come with me to Comicon for the very first time, on our long drive down, it struck me at one point during the boring drive that, you know what, Jay, pull out your phone and let's just do a podcast to keep us busy, which honestly it turned out to be a pretty good idea. Josh Brat, you aren't allowed to do the show tonight.
Pretty evening in your poker tournament to be calling it quits, huh?
Oh, no, it's break time, baby.
Oh, okay. You still in it?
I am.
We're having the DreamWorks poker tournament tonight, and that's why Josh doesn't love the show anymore.
Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Lebrat.
In 3D!
So the interesting story about that is, so those two shows recorded, and we have yet to be able to get them to a format that'll work for listeners. We're actually now, I've tried, Jason's tried, and we're going to hand them to Sean. See if I can get nerd on them, get nerd on them to get them to play back.
No pressure.
Yeah, none whatsoever.
Was interesting about the Comic-Con trip is that in the morning, what I didn't know is that Jason had an extra ticket. Now, these tickets are hard to come by, and it was sold out. But I didn't know until 6 a.m. when I showed up at Jason's. Hey, dude, you ready to go? He goes, yeah, man. You think 6 a.m., mind you, during the week. You think anybody else would want to go? I got an extra. You got an extra ticket? We spent from Santa Clarita to Glendale, which is about an hour, maybe less, calling everybody at 6 a.m. Hey, dude, come to Comic-Con with us. We'll pick you up right now.
Hit every single person
we
in the podcast.
We hit Sean up. We hit...
They were kind enough to text me instead of call me at 6
a.m.
I called, texted.
People, we woke people up.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody...
Harder.
Everybody significantly had something better to do than hang out with me and Jason Carter that day. So, yeah. What was the guy's name? I forgot what the guy's name was.
Chip Church.
Chip, best name ever. He could have been Chip Church at Comic-Con.
So if you get a random phone call from us next year asking you to come to Comic-Con, just...
You won the golden ticket.
You won the golden ticket.
So Comic-Con. So I had never been to Comic-Con. And there's a reason. I have a little healthy dose of what I like to call social claustrophobia, which is get around lots of people and I get a little uncomfortable. And, I can do the E3 thing. Done that just fine. Can be around crowds at Disneyland and stuff when there's some space to leave. But when you're just shoulder to shoulder kind of being moved by the crowd like a cow.
A moving Spam can.
It's...
You didn't get the experience.
No, I didn't get that. I'm glad because I have the same social hate that Jay has. And
can we rename this podcast to the Moving Spam Can, please?
I love them. They're playing at the Hollywood Bowl this weekend.
So, wow. So I'd never been. So Jack, he has graciously agreed to play bouncer for me and lead the way. And it was. There was a lot of a little bit of anxiety going into it, but it was an incredible amount of fun. We had a plan. Our plan
killed it.
Our plan was to go to Hall H and stay in Hall H all day long. So we got there and we went and we saw the line for Hall H and we're like, screw this. Let's come up with a new plan. And so we did.
It wasn't quite the plan, but we had to show Jason the line.
And so we went to we did the floor and we walked the entire floor and saw everything, and it took all day long,
literally.
And it was definitely a lot of fun, and I can definitely see why it's called the Mecca of nerddom. I mean, it is absolutely anything that is even remotely nerdy will show. It is there. It shows up there.
Was anyone playing Nerderball?
Coming to some ears near you.
We need a booth.
And
yes, we do.
Nerderball,
but
come play Nerderball.
But we don't say what it is exactly.
No.
We just sit there.
Just a bunch of people fucking squeezing oranges on their head. And
soon you will be able to find a PDF instructions on how to play Nerderball at a soccer field near you.
There might be drinking involved.
How loose could we keep it though? Like I'm thinking about a stand that we had there, and we had the name we had other sports equipment.
If you've ever read Calvin and Hobbes and know a little bit about Calvin or what you call it, the Calvin ball game that they play. Yeah, Nerderball's like that. So,
Comic-Con was definitely...
You're dead to me, Josh.
Comic-Con was definitely an interesting experience for me. It was a lot of fun. I was on the fence about whether or not I'd do it again until
Oh God, the end of the evening.
Until I got so we had a friend. We have a friend that works with Jay and Sean at Disney Mobile.
She's been on the show.
She's a great girl. Oh yeah, Liz. Yeah, she's been on the show. And she hit us up and she's like, "Hey, let me know when you guys are down here." So I text her. We meet up with her, say hi or whatever, and she goes, "All right, let's grab dinner later before you guys leave," because we were down just for the day, just Friday. We were planning on leaving in a decent hour, and then we had Disneyland bright and early the next morning for Jack's daughter's birthday, and we meet Liz. We meet up with Liz,
and it took all day. He's not lying. I mean, we literally it was. If you go down every aisle, minus lunch that we stopped, we did our Hooters tradition.
Yep.
In San Diego, and then it's we know where it's at, and it's easy. And most of us
Hooters seems to be not just a Comicon tradition, but a convention tradition every time we go.
But it took us. If you want to see it, if you haven't been there before, it took all day.
Has it closed at 6 or 7?
Yeah.
But we were there after it had closed.
Yeah, I mean
But
so we were kind of beat.
Yeah,
we were kind of tired.
So we're thinking we'll go grab a bite. We'll get in the car. We'll grab some coffee and soda or something, and we'll go. And we text up Liz and we say, "Liz, where are we going for dinner?" And she goes, "Well, first we got to make a stop." And I'm like, "Where are we stopping, Liz?" And she goes, "We're stopping at the Kick-Ass 2 Sony party." So I'm like, "All right, sure, we'll go there." I didn't really know what to expect. Short mini skirts.
Oh, that's stupid because I'm asking. We're in short. I mean, we're in convention attire, like not cosplay. We're not Super Mario and Luigi, but we're in shorts. And I'm like, "Are we going to a club?" Like, you realize I have a bag full of crap I bought of nerd shit, and Jason's got his backpack. Are we getting in these places?
Bye, guys.
We hate you, Josh.
Bye, Josh.
The other way.
So we meet up with Liz, and she goes, "We got to stop off." So we walk by Petco Stadium.
Yeah.
And Liz proceeds to tell us that she has a fear of zombies.
Sean, you would have loved this, dude.
Okay. So Liz goes, I don't know how it came up in conversation, but Liz basically tells us that I think we were talking about The Walking Dead. Because that's my favorite show on television. Love that show. So Liz goes, "Oh, I can't watch that show because I have this really intense fear of zombies." No joke. The moment she says this, the gates to Petco Stadium open up, and the doors open up. Hundreds of people dressed as zombies in makeup shambling up.
Oh, that's so awesome.
It was such. You couldn't have asked.
Damn it.
Seriously, for perfect attire.
Liz is a beautiful, pale woman, but any ounce of color in her face drained instantly, and her pace quickened. But it was
a zombie obstacle course in Petco State. The baseball they had set up an obstacle. You ran through it.
It was a Walking Dead promotional thing.
Yeah.
And you could go turn into a zombie and walk this zombie obstacle course, and this group happened to be exiting the obstacle course right when Liz was walking by. So we go to this Kick-Ass 2 Sony party.
It's like a dream.
And we go meet up with some other Disney people who working on Disney Infinity, which we'll come back to, which launched this past weekend.
You got to preface when we showed up, though.
Oh, yeah.
So Liz had talked about, I know how these kind of things go. She's a woman. She can get into any of these without probably being on any list.
Liz is very, very attractive.
Yeah, so we're like, we get up there and we're like, well, I'm expecting, I see the bouncer, I'm like, we're not getting in with her. I look at Jason, I go, hey, dude, we'll probably end up going somewhere else. Or we'll go home. We get up and sure enough, he's like, no, we're closed. There's no more people are allowed in. And I'm like, all right. And me and Jason start backing up. And she's like, no, give me a sec. She makes a phone, and this guy has told us now multiple times. He's like, no, seriously, guys, you can't come in. Do you remember this guy? He's like, no more people are allowed in. And they come back. She's like, give me a second. Makes a call. All of a sudden, somebody comes up behind the bouncer, taps him, whispers, and he's like, right this way, people. And I'm just laughing like, yes, sucker.
Yeah, he goes, guys, the party's pretty much done. You can't come in. And then our friend, Luigi, comes out and goes, hey, they're with me. And we just roll.
And me and Jason have no idea who this dude is. We're like, yes, we are.
No, I actually worked with him a little bit before.
I had never met. Yeah, great guy though.
And so we're at the Sony party, which I did not really know what to expect or think. But a party at Comicon, for anyone who hasn't gone to a party at Comicon, is a group of people in a room with an open bar. That is all it is. There is no disco ball.
To the ones we went to.
There is no dance floor. There is no pirate
The
cosplay.
Machinima one we stopped into that I could have
yeah.
drank at, they had a lot. Matter of fact, they
They
had so
could've.
much going on. It was so loud we left.
Yeah, we were like, couldn't handle it. So we go in, we're hanging out at the Sony party, and then we decide we're going to go to dinner. And Liz goes, yeah, but we're going to meet up with a little bit of a bigger group. Come to find out, this group that we have dinner with at this restaurant, we're having dinner with some incredibly interesting people. A person who is the I'm going to butcher this title, so forgive me, Amy, but she was, I believe, the franchise brand manager for all of Lucasfilm and Marvel.
Yeah, she's kind of a big deal.
Also, the VP of Creative for Marvel and his girlfriend, and some really interesting.
And here come me and
people.
Jason,
And
nerd
we're-
backpacks and shorts. Hey, guys, and we're in this like nice Italian restaurant.
I didn't have shorts on. I was remember.
Oh, never mind. Jason, look how
I had
Jason
my
looks.
snowsuit on.
Not
I don't want
me.
people touching me. No, so we're at dinner. Dinner is very fun, and Liz goes, "All right, so next we've got the Marvel party, then we've got the Playboy party, and then we're going to end the evening at the Assassin's Creed party on the Star of India, which is a pirate ship parked in San Diego Harbor."
Which
Oh,
you've been
okay.
on before, have you not?
I've shot a short film on
Yeah,
that.
he had been, and that got him excited. That was like the big
I didn't care how many parties I had to go to get to the pirate ship, but I was dedicated.
He went. Now I'm drinking.
So what time is it at this
That's
time?
getting late.
We had dinner. Dinner
Yeah.
ended at about 10:30.
Yeah.
So we go to the Marvel party.
And I'm drinking.
Keep in mind,
Jason's drinking soda.
Jack and I have to drive
All the way
3
back.
hours to get home, to then get up at 6 a.m. to get down to Disneyland for a bippity boppity boutique appointment for your daughter where she gets her hair done by the Little Mermaid.
You guys live in some fantasy world that doesn't really exist.
So
You live in it.
But it did, and it really happened, and I can't make that up.
So for all the people listening, this stuff actually does
this
happen.
is true.
Just
So
not to you.
We finish dinner. It's about 10:30 at night,
Or me, apparently.
and we go to the Marvel party. Okay?
On nose pad.
Now,
should have gone.
Now, on our way to the Marvel party, Tom, who is the VP of Creative at Marvel, he goes to us, he turns to us, and granted, there's a whole bunch of Disney people. They all know each other, very familiar with each other, and then it's
Us too.
us who come from a different world, right? They're kind of within games and Marvel, and we are animation. And so Tom, he turns to me and he goes, "Hey, just so you know, I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be able to get everybody in." And I'm thinking, no problem, that's fine. If we have to go, it's already really late. We probably need
Me
to
and
get
Jay
driving.
are like this whole time going, dude, we
don't
get
sweat.
it. If
Yeah,
we don't
no
get it,
sweat
just-
whatsoever.
We've already done more than we thought we were going to do after the... Matter of fact, I didn't even know there was this many parties all the years I've gone. So-
Seriously. So we stroll up to the Marvel party, right? It's in I can't remember where. It's a back room of a bar somewhere, but similar thing, a room with an open bar and a bunch of people in it. But so we come up to the table where they take your tickets and your name and they give you the wristband. And we go up there, and Tom, I just kind of see him from back, because there's a group of us. There's probably maybe 6 to 8 of us somewhere in that realm.
Something like that.
And so he goes, he starts, I can just read his body language. He's like talking to the guy. I don't know what he's saying. He's kind of talking to him. So you're,
Two like Marvel guys at a table
And so
handing
you-
these wristbands
and so you're kind
Thor
of
and
like,
Loki.
you kind of,
out. Chris Hemsworth was handing out badges.
we can't hear what he's saying, but we would Thor and Loki. Sorry, I just registered that. But so he is, I would imagine trying to see if we can get us all in. Meanwhile, I'm nudged by Liz, our blonde friend, who has connections apparently everywhere, and she just hands us wristbands. And I'm like, what is this? So the VP of Creative for Marvel is up there trying to negotiate to get us in, and our friend who doesn't even work for that company just hands us wristbands, which she apparently, I guess, winked at the other guy at the table.
Who's putting these on? And you're talking about a circumstance.
And
Both
it
of
was
us
like-
are like, oh, we belong.
Oh,
Like both of
dude.
us just triggered this instant reaction, like, of course we're supposed to be here.
But it was like the most under the table. Like she nudged me and then sort of just low handed by my knee handed me this wristband, and I put it on. And then meanwhile, Tom turns around and he's got this kind of disappointed look, and I'm like, "Hey, we're good, man. Let's go on in."
What Jason hasn't pointed out why this is happening. An employee of Marvel, the kid,
Oh, yeah.
an artist
Yes.
for Marvel, is fighting a dude who's telling him he can't come in.
Yeah, the Marvel employee is being
Employee.
bounced, but the DreamWorks employee,
I'm right in.
Come on in.
I'm sitting there going, I'm looking at Jason, I'm like, and we walk in, and I'm like, dude, you see, he works here, couldn't get in. And he's like, yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm like, to the bar.
Knowing
Because
my
they-
luck, you guys would have gotten in, and I'd be like, well, sorry, we can't fit all three of you.
So we're chilling the Marvel party, and we know that Playboy's next, and then Assassin's Creed, which I'm so stoked about. But I look at the clock,
And I'm now a little drunk.
oh yeah.
At this point.
And you still held your own fine, but yeah, you had a good time.
It was
and,
a fine line being around people who you're.
Yeah, but so I look at the clock. It's 11:30, and I'm like, Jack, every ounce of my pirate-loving meanness needs to get to the Assassin's Creed party. But there's a responsible father and husband in me that has to get home to help tomorrow
We
get the
both
kids
will.
up for So we go home. And we record a podcast on our way home. We don't make it to the Assassin's Creed party, which is fine. But if you ever meet Liz, she'll give you the hookups at any party, anywhere, apparently.
And no offense to listeners, I really didn't want to do a podcast coming home.
Oh,
do you remember this, Jason?
yeah.
Like
This is
I'm
great.
fighting staying awake. Like I'm drunk and Jason's fighting staying awake. We've been up.
I'm driving, obviously.
We've been up since I did 5:30 actually is when I got up.
Yep.
And we've both been up this long, and I'm fighting staying awake. And Jason, I'm trying to be there for him awake, but I'm just not happy about being awake. I'm just sort of in the. Jason looks over, he goes, "We're doing a podcast now." I'm like, no, and this is the first time I ever looked at Jason. I go, "No, we're not."
Yeah. He's like, nah, dude. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, are you tired right now? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm fading a little bit. Let's do a podcast. I'll wake us right up.
And he kept going, and I kept going, "No, we're not doing a
Yeah.
podcast."
You fought me on it, and I just hit record. And I
You
was
just
like,
hit
ladies and
record.
gentlemen, welcome to Nerdtastic. And then at that point, we're going. And Jack's just like,
Oh, fuck you.
And it was. I'll tell you what.
But it
though,
worked.
It did work. I mean, it's funny how like us doing this show got us sort of going. It woke us up and it got us home. When you start talking on a show, it's amazing how time flies so fast. And it's the only reason I'm telling you guys is because it pisses me off that we can't bring you either one of the unless Sean can break the code.
I'll try.
so
Give my old college try.
So we get home. We get up the next morning. I got 2 hours of sleep that night. I think we got home by about 4.
Yeah, dude, it was 2 hours because
Yeah. So
good.
I wake up the next morning, start getting ready.
Meanwhile, I got a toasty 10 hours of sleep.
you bastard.
So I start getting ready, helping getting the kids ready and stuff. And Katie, my wife, she turns to me and she goes, "How was it?" And I was like, "Good." And I tell her all about it. And she goes, "Why didn't you just stay down there?" I'm like,
Yeah,
"God damn it!"
She says that to me too. She's like, "You guys just should have stayed." I'm like, "What?" I mean, we talked about it.
Because if we had, you'd have been pissed. Now that it's okay, you're not pissed.
Yes.
This is how married life works, everybody. Who's
Comic-Con,
not married.
Yeah, Comic-Con was definitely a lot of fun. It is visually overwhelming.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun, and I would probably do it again if I got to go hang out with Liz.
I want to get there's no doubt. We joked about this seriously. What we didn't talk about is she had a list. She had an Excel sheet list that has every party for every single day of Comicon.
Oh. Okay, hold on, sorry.
What do you get,
I
comments?
gotta give a freaking shout out to the Korean killer.
Every time. He's going to do it every time.
Who has hearted us on MixLR 77 times now, and I just see it keep rising.
Gary,
it's just going.
We love you beyond belief.
It's just clicking. It's just going. Oh, man. Yeah, funny, Gary. Just stop killing Koreans. That's racist, you bastard.
my goal is to get the entire crew down to Comic-Con one day. So we're all just having fun, recording, and do the show down there.
Next year,
and interviewing every cosplay person we possibly can get a hold of.
Next year, someone can go as Chip Church, and
we'll try our best.
we can. Yeah, I don't know how I got a guess, but I guess I did.
If we go next year, I'm going as Rusty Venture. That's going to be my costume.
Who's Rusty
He
Venture?
he's the dad on Venture Brothers,
Venture
and I
Brothers.
actually kind of look like him now that I'm bald.
Let me deviate and just throw him under the bus and on the spot real fast because he's here and I love doing it. Sean,
Hi.
what's going on from the uber nerd corner of the world?
Yeah.
Is there anything super techie nerdy that
Yeah,
that only you would know
So I don't
about?
have anything in front of me, but off the top of my head, So the Mars project, I don't remember
Orion
the official
8?
name of it. I don't know. I don't remember the official name of it, but the Mars project, which is the private company that's trying to build a habitat on Mars and send scientists and astronauts, whatever, to it by 2021, has laid out their roadmap and has opened up auditions to lots of people, and I guess 180 applicants applied and were immediately denied. But if you're not following it, there are actually video interviews with these people that you can watch.
Really?
Yeah, because they had to supply video applications for why.
The saddest part:
go.
these 180 people are the people their entire life have dedicated themselves to going. I'm going to Mars.
Probably
93 hearts and climbing.
Gary, don't you stop on us.
So that happens. There's an email list, and you can it's kind of a curiosity for me just seeing this kind of unfold and how they're trying to plan it out. Kearney has no faith in this project. I'm a little bit more optimistic because I think it would be kind of neat to see will people go insane when they're alone on Mars? Because it is going to be like 20 people, I think, tops. That's the maximum, maybe even less. That's the maximum.
100 hearts.
Because he's loving the story.
Yeah.
Did they decide? Was the idea that they never come back?
Yes, they will never come back. Their goal is to set up a permanent habitat on Mars that people can be sent to, and it will be self-sustaining. So they are going to set up. They're actually going to set up 2 habitats for training here on Earth. One will be
Biodomes.
No, they're not biodomes.
Sure
They're gonna create the living spaces and the rover, and they're gonna create all analog models of those here, and then have people. They actually already have people training there to figure out the logistics of it. But there's gonna be one in the desert that's very similar to a normal equatorial area on Mars. They're planning on doing another one potentially in a polar region, because their goal is to land and set up the habitat in a polar region of Mars that gets almost uniform sunlight throughout the entire Mars day and has enough permafrost that they can actually extract water from the soil. So that's kind of their main plan. Mission. And they're gonna set up these habitats and have people.
Do you think
train
about
in
the
them.
psychological profile that would have to go into something?
That may be one of the reasons that 180 people just immediately were like,
I mean,
nope.
the decisions made.
I was very sad that
you're
they
not
didn't-
coming back.
I was very sad that they didn't accept me, but when I thought harder about it, I understand why.
It is a 256-day trip just to get to the planet.
How many?
256 days. So it's almost a full year just to get to the planet. And then when you get to the planet, you have to immediately get
By
things
almost
ready.
a full year, you mean 100 days short.
Yes.
That's still pretty long.
No,
I mean,
no
That's
joke.
a long time
I
to
just-
be on a
so-
spaceship with people that you have to get along with somehow.
I thought you were going to talk about the announcement of the Orion 8.
No, I haven't seen that
hell
one
is
yet.
that?
Okay, so sorry, I laughed. My office mate and I laughed so hard today about this. He worked at Northrop Grumman, so he's tied to the aerospace industry. So NASA announced that their official plan to send astronauts to land on an asteroid and then to go to Mars. Okay, so NASA's also chasing this. Sure. So originally with the Apollo dream, there was the Mercury 7. It was 7 astronauts. They were test pilots. They were military guys who would basically test equipment, and eventually one of them would be like the first man in space. That's not quite right. I can't remember. I'm sorry. Alan Shepard was the first man. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm blanking out. But
Don't quote Jason Carter right now.
yeah, basically, I get it confused with whether it was the Russian or anyways. But so the Mercury 7, right? So they 6,100 some odd people applied to be the next generation of astronauts.
6,000.
6,000 people, and they've chosen the Orion 8.
Oh, all right.
Okay. Now they showed a picture.
Is it a broad demographic of people?
I just have to bring this up.
Was one a dog or like a monkey?
I have to bring this up. I have to show you this. Basically, I saw an article that was
Ron, James, Jack, Jill, Mojo the monkey. Hold on, what? Who's Mojo?
that was basically this. I'm not going to find it now. Shoot. Okay, I'll send it to you later. It's an article that shows a picture of the Orion 8, and right next to it, a picture of the Mercury 7. Okay. Now the Mercury 7 with some gruff, tough-looking white dudes in the military.
Was it like 1950s?
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
they just
They
looked
were,
the
they were
part.
the best of the best Air Force pilots.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but they looked the part. I mean, chiseled jaws,
The
fit
right
guys.
stuff, right?
They were.
Yep.
The Orion 8 is
They look a lot like me.
is four men, 4 women, 1 black dude, and I'm pretty sure they're all bankers.
That's right. Really, that's how they all look.
No joke. They look like they're all bankers.
So is NASA's plan to send the Orion 8 all together? Because the interesting thing about the private project is they're sending the astronauts in two waves. They're going to send one wave. Actually, they're going to send all of the mechanical stuff first and have rovers sort of setting stuff up for them.
Okay.
And then they're going to send half of the crew, and then a couple years later, the other half of the crew.
I don't know if there's been any details announced. So that's a picture of the Mercury 7, and this is our picture of the Orion 8.
Okay, well, what?
All right, I gotta get up and see it.
I mean, one
By
of
the
the
way-
things up front is the
By what, I'm not sure how Blossom got on the list, but she certainly did.
Mercury 7, they were all in their Air Force jumpsuits and were looking the part in their jumpsuits next to a fighter plane. These guys are all in their business suits.
But they just don't look military. Like, you've got a guy who probably weighs $110 right there.
These two do. These guys are good.
Oh, gosh. Anyways, sorry. I thought you were going to talk about... I had not heard that NASA had any official plans, but apparently they do, and apparently it rests with these lovely financial folks.
So I heard a couple other things from the nerd corner, and actually one that I think Jack told me about. So anyone who's a nerd and loves space and science knows about Carl Sagan's series that he did. So Neil,
Is it the universe?
yeah, the universe. Neil deGrasse Tyson is going to remake that series for with more modern physics and just kind of for today's kind of audience, which I'm excited about because that guy is very eloquent. He talks very well.
Well, they can show
Very
stuff
passionate
in CG.
about
Very
space.
passionate.
They can show stuff in CG that they couldn't when Carl was there.
Yeah,
So it's kind of interesting to
exactly.
see what they show now, or at least I think it will be.
Right.
Hey, welcome to the show, Karen Larissa.
All right.
Hi, welcome.
Welcome.
And there were a couple of other things that I found, but I can't seem to remember them right now. And I put them on our little note page, but there's actually a lot on here, and I can't find them. So yeah, that's all I got right now. But there's more, I'm sure. Oh, by the way, I finally got my X3 computer set up as my media server.
Oh, you didn't even tell me that, dude.
Yeah, so I got that set up over the summer while we were on a 2.5-month break. Because what else was I going to do? It's working well. It's a nice little machine. My only problem with it is that it doesn't seem to be able to handle some of my movie files
The
as
encoding?
well as my previous one. Yeah, so
Karen's gone, by the way. She left.
some MKV files don't play very well. They buffer over and over and over again and are essentially unwatchable. I think the reason is because the bit rate that I'm getting in transfer across external SATA drives and these particular drives it's slowed down just enough that I'm not getting the speed that I used to get when they were internal drives.
Are they like MKV files and large
Yeah,
files?
they're MKV, but some of them are well over 10 gigs. Some of them are, it seems that the ones that are able to stream below 100 megabits seem to work really well. Anything that has to go over 100, 150 megabits, those are chunking and chunking and chunking. So it's kind of hit or miss, and I don't have the money to spend on new hard drives, so that's not happening for a while.
But you got to.
I actually took the step and I canceled all broadcast television and cable television products. So I used to have AT&T Uverse. I canceled that. So I'm exclusively Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, and
as am I.
and Plex.
Well, I don't. I do.
And honestly, I don't miss it. I don't really miss it very much at all.
No.
So. And I certainly don't miss the $120 per month cost for having crappy television.
I've got actually something to contribute to Nerd Corner.
Yay!
I do. So, I got a new surround sound system, and I kind of redid all of my entertainment unit and kind of pulled a bunch of cables out and just reorganized it, just made it a little bit nicer. And we had 2 lamps, like 2 IKEA lamps.
I love lamp.
That was that was behind the TV, just kind of providing some ambient light back there. And they're bulky, and it's a lot of cables, and I just wasn't super happy with it. So I said, what's another lighting solution? And is there a lighting solution that I can control from my Harmony Universal Remote, which I love? I basically stumble across, I say, they have these rope lights for Christmas, right? Like, you can get rope lights. I was like, what if I got rope lights and I, like, duct taped them to the back of the TV or something? So I go onto Amazon and I find this company called Hit Lights that make LED strip lights that are RGB color changing, and they sell packages for 16 feet of LED strip lights with adhesive backing already on them. You get a remote, you get the power brick, and you get an infrared, basically a little tiny infrared computer chip that changes the colors, and you have complete RGB control. So you can up the reds, up the greens, up the blues, create basically
any color you want.
More or less any color you want.
Yay.
And this package cost $25.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I now have a lighting system back behind the TV that is low power, low heat, doesn't have lots of cables and stuff associated with it, is hooked up to my whole universal remote system. So it's my entree into home automation. But basically now when I go turn on my Xbox or do an activity that it turns the lights on. And I have it programmed so that, you know, I can do different things. And if you tap buttons in a certain way, like if you hold a button down, it'll run the activity and switch the lights to blue or switch the lights to green or whatever. So
cool.
It's pretty fun and really, really cheap. I think the price went up a little bit on the package. I think it's $35 now, but still an incredible, incredible deal. And I got Adam hooked on it. And this was before the recent announcement that Philips, their lighting system, their Hue lighting system, they announced that they have 2 new products that work with that whole system. But so the previous thing was just light bulbs that plug right into a light bulb socket, and through a Wi-Fi signal you can change the color on your iPhone. The new products are one's called Bloom, I believe, which is kind of a really soft, diffuse light.
You could change the color on your iPhone? I thought they only came in white and black.
And then
Couldn't
the
help
other
it.
one is they announced
Couldn't help it.
their own LED strip lights, which are like 5 times the cost or something ridiculous.
Well, I mean,
It's
the Hue system, which I've been a fan of, we talked about on the show before I wanted. The only thing keeping me from it is the cost.
Yeah.
I think the system itself is amazing. Like I wish every bulb in my place now was like that, because you could control it from your phone and do all sorts of crazy shit with it. And
Especially for sexy time.
yeah.
But so I did find the one last nerd thing that I want to talk about. And actually, I'm glad I found this because I'm really excited about it. So this was kind of a news thing that I stumbled across using StumbleUpon, which I love StumbleUpon. It's great. So TED, the group TED, which is
TED Talks?
TED Talks that do all the TED Talks with science and technology, they actually were going to censor 3 TED Talks. They were not going to publish them. They were going to keep them because, and the argument that they gave was they were not legitimate science talks. They were very much more theoretical and
But
kind
TED
of
isn't
out
strictly
there.
science, right? They
It's
have,
not
like,
strictly. It's kind of science and art and
philosophy.
some stuff like that. But for some reason, and it's in the article, they were going to censor these talks and just not air them. They were a little bit too out there, apparently. The user base kind of rose up and complained about it, and they decided, well, you're right. This is probably not the right way to approach this, and they released the talks. One of the talks in particular was pretty interesting, and it was a guy who was talking about how he feels that science current scientists and science and our science models are actually hindering our ability to answer questions about our universe. And the reason is because we are taking things that have been discovered as law instead of questioning them. Things like the gravitational constant that is everywhere, the speed of light, and things like that. And he started doing these research where he went through a whole bunch, like he started measuring gravity and he started finding inconsistencies, and it was like, this is kind of weird. It's supposed to be constant, right? And he started talking to one of his colleagues, and he said, well, what if gravity is not constant? And we had this problem with the speed of light before, and that person said, oh, yeah, we solved that problem. We recreated the unit of meter to be dependent on the speed of light. So they actually changed distance so that it's dependent on something else to accommodate this indiscrepancy. And he felt that was the wrong way to do things. That was archaic. Huh. That was the way that we did things when Galileo was around and got, killed for, forced suicide for claiming that something that he observed was different from every other God-known belief at the time. So one of the things he started doing was going back through history books, through older science books, and mapping the gravitational constants for all of those books. And he found out that the gravitational constant has changed throughout history, throughout all of the recorded history of these books. And there was a time where it was lower for a amount of time. And there was noise in the numbers, obviously. And it was different in different places of the Earth. And he thought, well, maybe our universe is not constant. Maybe our universe is constantly evolving, which means that all of the laws of all of our physics are constantly evolving too. And what would it be like if we, instead of having one solid gravitational constant, it was different in different places, in different times, at different things, and the same thing with speed of light. And he said, I can imagine a world where, you open up the newspaper, and just like you get stock numbers, you get the gravitational constant, the speed of light, and everyone kind of laughed at that. But it was actually really interesting just hearing someone he's not jibing people. He's just saying, are we really keeping true to the science that our forefathers, the way that they handled it, where they question everything. Yeah, question it. And really explore, are the answers that we've come up with still valid now? That was by far one of the most interesting talks that were one of the 3 that were censored. The other 2 were good. One of them, this guy kind of goes off on a really crazy tirade about drug use and how it changed his life. And there's this particular type of drug that he took, and it Mother Earth started talking to him. That one was really, really out there. But this particular one about just questioning how things are done now is really interesting.
It's called the scientific method, basically, right? Like assuming what you're talking about, like previous scientific discoveries that have been proven are real, and then using hypothesis and then experimentation, you come across a conclusion.
Right. His argument was we were taking findings as dogma now.
Right.
You need a folding whiteboard with 3 sides and
exactly.
Yes,
and a volcano. Thank you for Nerd Corner. I've missed that.
No problem.
I have missed Nerd Corner. So there's a lot. I mean, that we are definitely big gamers here on the show, and we talk a lot about games. And there has been a tremendous amount of stuff that has happened.
I have a gaming thing too, actually.
Yeah?
Holy hell.
Nice.
Yeah, so for everyone who's played Diablo 3 and hated the fact that the servers always kicked you out, and the game was kind of unplayable to a point where you had to be connected to Blizzard servers in order to play the game.
I heard
even if you were doing single player,
really early, right?
Yeah, well, it lasted as long as I tried playing it, and then I was like, well, I'm done because I can't play this game. That was a while ago. On Steam this weekend, I think, or maybe it was the weekend ago, there's a game called Van Helsing that was on sale for like $8. It's a Diablo 3 clone. Almost exactly a Diablo 3 clone. And I've been playing that, and I'm like, cool, I can play this game and get nearly the experience that I had with Diablo 3 without having to deal with all the bullshit. So if anyone's interested in a Diablo 3-like game that's really cheap, go on Steam, download Van Helsing.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
So if
I'd give it like 2 stars, 2.5, 3 stars maybe. Okay. I'd give it 3 stars because the price was great.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So we did discuss this at length on our road show, which may or may not come. But we do have to talk about, kind of get back into for a moment, that I don't know who remembers this or not. The last time we left off, we were talking about E3 and the console war. That was our last episode. We talked heavily about how PlayStation came out with a very, very strong showing at E3. And Microsoft came out with a confusing showing. and
a whole lot of animated GIFs to follow.
Yeah, and basically made some choices that were, I think, innovative and interesting, but that clearly the gaming community wasn't ready for. Okay, so there were 4 areas that Microsoft was, let's say, people weren't happy with the choices they had made. Okay,
And that PlayStation was excited to exploit.
correct. So the first one is the price point. So the Xbox One is going to cost $500, where the PlayStation 4 is going to cost $400.
Jeebus.
Okay, so a lot of people weren't happy with that. The next one is that the Kinect has to always be connected to the box to work. Okay, a lot of people didn't like that because they didn't like the idea of a camera that was always connected to an online device. The part that goes hand in hand with that is that your console has to be online at least once every 24 hours, was the official policy. Okay? And the last one is that you could not, basically they had gotten rid of the used game market. That you could take a game and you could give it to one other person, but that was pretty much it. So shortly after E3, Microsoft did a complete role reversal. They put out a press release and they basically said, we are going to we've reversed our policy on some of these. Okay, I was personally hoping it was going to be the price point, but it was not. But
I'm surprised the price didn't go up after their announcement.
We're giving you these, but we're taking it back.
So they announced that they are going to get rid of the online policy. That basically the Xbox has to be connected once at one time when you first set it up, and that's it. And from that moment on, it doesn't ever have to be connected again. They also announced that they're getting rid of their DRM, forward-thinking DRM stuff, and basically they're going to support the whole used game market. And you can go to GameStop and you can pick up a used game and you can sell a used game there just like you do in this generation. And then just recently they announced that the Kinect does not, in fact, have to be connected to the box. It comes with every Xbox One comes with the Kinect, but you don't actually have to use it if you don't want to. And so
I hadn't heard that.
And then the other thing, I guess there's a fifth one, sorry, that they were getting a little bit of flack for is their support of indie developers. And it wasn't that they weren't supporting them, but PlayStation had come out going like, we love indie devs. Everybody, come on out. This is great. Indie.
So they made a big deal about it.
Absolutely.
And Microsoft would be like, well, us too.
But Microsoft just didn't give a clear answer. And I watched a particular interview with that was in Gadget, I believe, with Mark Whitten, who's the chief product officer of the Xbox. And the interview is basically this guy going, what about indie? What about the Xbox Live Arcade stuff? What's the deal with that? And he would not give a straight answer. And it turns out there's a reason for that. So recently they announced that there is no more XBLA, there is no more indie place, that there's going to be an app store, basically, just like an app store, an Xbox store, where all content is equally as discoverable as any other content. And they're going to have recommendations, and they're going to have trending, and they're going to have what's popular, what are your friends playing, blah, blah, blah. So the idea there is that if you are an indie developer, your game does not go into a lesser-known indie section. Your game goes up right against the BioShocks and the Call of Duties of the world.
Does that mean that your game might be purchasable and playable on the Windows Phone?
I don't know yet, but it's a good question. There's more questions about it.
Depending on the game, probably.
Yeah, probably.
But an even bigger announcement has come out. So the way that console development works is you register with the company that makes the console to be a developer, and then you buy a ridiculously expensive development kit, which is a special version of the console that allows you to develop on it. In this current generation that we're in now, the 360 and the PlayStation 3, Sony biffed big time. They messed up big time. The PlayStation 3, the cost of a development kit was through the roof compared to both the Wii and the Xbox. And the Xbox was very, very low, making it much more attractive to indie developers. So PlayStation comes out and goes, yeah, we love indie devs. We're going to let our development kit is going to be like low cost, basically, right?
And they changed their architecture, and we talked about before.
Yep.
Jason brought up, like, the architecture changed to accommodate what had sucked about developing on PlayStation. To be like, No, this is like just if you were doing something for the PC, it's super easy. Anybody can do it.
Yep. So PlayStation, so up until this point, truthfully, and I'm a big Xbox fan, up to this point, Sony is making some announcements and looking like they're just giving gamers more of what they want. But the tables turned. They legitimately turned. Because PlayStation announces that hey, we're coming out and our development kits are super cheap and we did our architecture so the barrier of entry is going to be more familiar to people. Microsoft comes out and goes, that's nice that your development kit's going to be cheap. Ours is free.
Wow.
Any single indie developer currently, right now, that wants to that is registered and can get registered through normal processes with Microsoft gets a development kit for free. That's interesting, very interesting. However, it gets way more interesting because Microsoft said that within the year, every single Xbox One is also a development kit.
What?
So any person at home who has some savvy can design a game, upload it to the Xbox store from their home console that they purchased for $500.
What's it cost to get registered?
You don't have to get...
At that point,
No, because I'm thinking about getting a free one. Since they're all going to be dev kits, I could get a free Xbox One.
Oh, yeah, I'm not... That's true.
That's where I'm going with this.
And then...
Don't take my idea, people.
What's then, to me, the ultimate completion of the circle is that the Unity game engine already has support for the Xbox One. Now, the Unity game engine is a free game engine that, whether or not the Xbox portion will be free, we don't know yet, but basically a really easy way to develop games. So you, on your computer, can develop a game and through Unity, plug it into your Xbox One, have your controller, and you're up and running, all from a device that you purchase and play with for $500.
So basically we're saying we should expect just a blow up of people dumping.
Absolutely. So what I think is just brilliant about this is Apple has very successfully created a store, a digital location that is doing incredibly well, especially compared to their competitor. They've allowed anyone who wants to develop very easily with profit sharing to just put up your game. Okay, and it's not a physical product, which means you don't ever. It's just digital download, which means there's an infinite amount of copies. There's no overhead for disc manufacturing and that. Apple did that really, really, really well. Apple has a problem, however. Apple's problem is now Unity does bridge the gap here, but Apple's problem is that to develop a game for an iPhone, you got to learn some serious programming languages there. You have to learn Objective-C, which is a convoluted programming language. Okay, the barrier of entry is still fairly high in my opinion there. Xbox comes along and they announce this, and it's built on a PC platform, which is much, much more widely modded and supported and accessible than the Mac system is. And so now suddenly you have the idea that maybe there's people that are going to write Python engines for the Xbox One, and you can download this open source Python engine and write a game in Python for the Xbox One. And they have the App Store, which I'm sure is going to have profit sharing, which is an amazing idea because Apple has got to be just making tons of money on all the apps that are out there. I mean, 30% of every single app that's sold. I don't know. There's been no announcement whether or not you can put a game up for free or whatnot or any of that stuff. But in my opinion, they said that Sony dropped the mic and they were like, we're done, we're out, that's it. In my opinion, there were some fumbles in the beginning, but Microsoft dropped the mic with this announcement. But I'm very interested in in game development.
Free like a ball.
So we are at our time frame, but if you guys are okay, I'd like to keep going. You good?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk briefly about a time period that happens every year for me, which is my wife and kids leave for weeks to go up and visit some family.
And he runs around the house like Home Alone.
Yes.
Risky business.
And I get a chance to legitimately sit down and play games. And I don't mean just play games. I mean, Jack calls me up.
You mean complete?
No,
games.
I mean it means he doesn't hang out with me like, and I have nobody to hang out with.
He doesn't shave.
Jack calls me up and he goes, "Hey, you want to go see Wolverine?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And this was the first week they were gone. I was like, "Yeah, when do you want to go? I'm free all next week." And he's like, "Well, what about this week? Your family's gone." I'm like, "Sorry, this week's dedicated to gaming."
He literally tells me that. He's like, I do nothing but come home and I play until an hour I shouldn't be playing.
In a 14-day period, I finished Spartan Ops, which is the co-op version of Halo, on Legendary by myself because no one really would play.
I don't know how you do that.
State of Decay, which we're going to come back to, The Walking Dead 400 Days DLC, Halo Wars, Portal 2.
Which one's Halo Wars? Is
It's
that the RTS?
Yeah.
That's the
Oh, I
RTS,
want to play.
yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay.
And didn't complete, but played a game called
Just by Company Heroes 2. It's
Re-
going to be better.
played a game called Racketeer, which I'd gotten for free, which is an XBLA game. So completed a whole bunch of games and have definitely some stuff to report.
That's impressive, but it doesn't hold a candle to watching all of the James Bond movies in chronological order.
Because Sean gets the same time. Actually, Sean gets a month.
Wow.
Actually, this
Of
year
Family
is
Gone.
2 months.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sean doesn't hang out either. He locks himself down.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch briefly on some of these things. We may come back to some of them another week, but Spartan Ops we've talked about. Any Halo fans out there, really interesting experience. So the reason I wanted to play it is because it was story driven, and the story was legitimately very interesting. It's basically a horde mode, firefighty kind of a thing, but with lots of intertwined story. Very, very fun. Very, very difficult on Legendary. Oh my gosh, very tough. All I wanted to maintain was more kills than deaths, and I did for every single one, so I was happy. Then I moved on to Mass Effect 3. And I popped in this disc, and I said, I don't have the energy for this, and I quickly took it out.
I'm pretty sure I still have not beaten that game.
I wanted to. I really did like the first one. First two.
I did, but I didn't complete all of the extra missions.
Okay.
That's what I did.
I really wanted to. I really liked the story, really into those movies, and I just had this big list of games staring me in the face, and there were other ones that were way more exciting. So I moved on to, in my opinion, one of the best games of the entire year, which is State of Decay. This is a $20 XBLA game that is, imagine Grand Theft Auto, but doesn't take place in a metropolitan city, rather takes place in three small towns that kind of exist next to each other, but it's set in a zombie setting. So you have to gather resources, you have to build a base, you have to manage a group of people.
Sounds like work.
No, I agree with you.
That's Sean's every day.
I agree with you. It sounds like a chore. It is one of the most perfectly balanced games. Just when you think, I'm sick of doing this, or I'm tired of doing this, or this seems like, it is just amazing. I can't say enough positive things about it. The combat was super, super fun. You can take propane tanks that you find in the backyards of homes, and it's open world, so there's houses everywhere. You just go explore houses, and you're just...
But are there missions?
There are missions. There's a story there, and you have to, you have a group of survivors that are dependent upon, you, and this really fascinating idea. And so, sorry, real quick. So you can go find a propane tank in the backyard of a home, and you can set it in the middle of the road, and you can attract a bunch of zombies, and you can shoot the propane tank and watch them all go flying. And it's all open world, and it has this really fascinating thing, which is permadeath.
Is it first person?
It's a third person game.
Oh, okay.
It's permadeath, but you don't start over. So permadeath meaning your character dies.
You don't get him back.
You don't get that character back. You just are now. So you are a community of people, a small community. Like, I think the max maybe you can have is like 15-ish, somewhere in that range. I'm not quite sure. But so if one of your characters dies, that character's dead. They're never coming back. The rest of the group mourns them, and you just pop into one of your other players. And you have to then go find the remains of that lost player and get all the crap they had, all the guns and everything.
Oh, like Minecraft?
But it's just so... Yeah, exactly.
It sounds
exactly.
fun.
It is just...
That can only be one.
Honestly, I honestly cannot say enough positive things about it. there are so many interesting elements to it.
That's cool because I bought All Zombies Must Die and started playing that, and I wanted it to be that, but it's not.
This is.
Can you play multi? Like, is it? Like,
No,
can you have
so
multiple people in there
originally this was scoped to be a full Grand Theft Auto sized game.
Like
that was a
DayZ,
retail.
right?
That was basically. So the full story of what happened here is, DayZ which is a mod of Arma 2, is a zombie survival open world game that's incredibly popular on the PC. And the man who made it is developing a console version.
Creepy ass people play that game.
But he is a quirky guy. He stopped his project to go climb Mount Everest, no joke. And he just has been, from what I understand, this is just speculation what I hear, but been hard to reach and hard to communicate. And so Microsoft goes, well, we're really interested in this idea, and so here's a studio, and they did it. And they were originally supposed to create a full retail version of this game. And it was supposed to be multiplayer, which, let me tell you, co-op in this game would have been epic. It would have been amazing.
You're saying there is no co-op.
There's no nothing. It's just a single player game only. But I would. It has sold. It is the fastest selling XBLA game in history. I believe
More than Minecraft?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, sorry. It's faster selling. Whether or not it's sold more copies, I'm not sure. I'll look that up in a minute. But I'm sorry. Just not to go on about it. But honestly, if you're going to ever trust me about a game, it is. There's a degree of lots of different types of gameplay. There is absolute action. You get to run over zombies in cars. It is so much fun. Lots of
something you'd be into.
yeah, it sounds fun.
Lots of action. There is people management and resource management, which some people find fun, but it's not to an overwhelming, annoying degree. They have these little missions that pop up where one of your community members will have low morale, and the mission is very simple. You go to a house or a location
and shoot them.
No, you take them and you
Problem solved.
No.
you beat up. You basically just slaughter a bunch of zombies with this person to give them confidence that they're going to overcome the apocalypse. And but it's just every mission.
Same thing
is
you do with your kids.
right. Every mission is so dialed in. So good. And what's funny is it's not actually a super long game. It's probably 10 hours, something like that.
On a scale of 1 to I hate you, how challenging would you say it is?
The game itself?
Yeah.
Pretty low.
Okay.
Pretty low. Not super challenging, but...
So you could play it leisurely if you felt...
Oh,
the need?
definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's just some fascinating, fun things that they've done with the game. Cars, there is a limited number of vehicles in the world.
Cool.
It's kind of like DayZ.
And cars
it's a hard thing to find vehicles.
It's not hard to find them at all.
Okay.
But there are a limited number. And cars get destroyed when you run over zombies.
Oh, you just can't keep running them over.
No.
Like
I mean, you can mow over lots, but eventually, just like Grand Theft Auto, your car will catch on fire and blow up, and you got to get the hell out of Dodge. There's also, if there are any Left 4 Dead fans out there, a really strong tie-in copy of Left 4 Dead where they have different types of specialized zombies. So they've got the big bloated fat zombie that is basically it takes 1 million hits to kill him, but he's a farmer. He's like this hick farmer looking guy, and he floats around. They have zombies that are part of the SWAT team. So the local law enforcement SWAT team, and they have lots of armor. They have zombies that are feral, that are like dogs. That they're not dogs; they're humans, but they're like raised in the wild kind of a thing, and they are super fast and hard to kill. But
is there a lot of weapons? Like, is it easy to get weapons?
So easy to find and get weapons, guns, ammo. Bladed weapons, sledgehammers, and each one, that's another thing I want to talk about, sorry. Each one is dialed in so perfectly, so your character moves and your controls feel heavy and sluggish when you're swinging around a sledgehammer, but you can just crush with awesome sound effects a zombie's skull with a sledgehammer. It is, honest to God, one of the most fun games I've played all year. So much fun. I highly, highly recommend it. So anyways, after State of Decay, I went on to play The Walking Dead 400 Days DLC, which was very much in line with the game itself. We talked at length about that. I won't spend a lot of time on it. All I'll say is there is one achievement in the game, because I'm an achievement junkie. There's one achievement in that game that's missable. So basically, The Walking Dead is an interactive fiction, and depending on the tree that you go down and the choices you make, most of the time you get all the achievements, but there is one achievement in that game that if you choose a different path, you'll miss the achievement entirely. And so that was interesting.
So did you have to go back and replay
I did. And the way The Walking Dead works is it's a story. So there's in this particular thing, there's 6 episodes, 6 little 20-minute episodes, very, very short little things. And I beat the whole thing, realized I missed an achievement, and then I read enough about it to figure out, where it was, and I made different choices. But I had to go back and undo 3 of the episodes to do it, and I had to do the whole thing all over again to complete it. But super fun. The Walking Dead nailed that out of the park, so that's awesome. And then I played Halo Wars, which I got on. They had a big Xbox sale on games, kind of like a Steam sale, and they had it for super cheap. It's one of those things where I've always wanted to, say I played every Halo game, and I played it. It was fun. I think for those types of games, it was very well done. Very well done. I'm just not a gigantic fan of those types of games.
Of RTSs?
Yeah.
I just don't know how I'd want to play that on a Xbox. Those are such mouse and keyboard games to me that I can't imagine with a controller how those play well.
So it was fun. And then I went back into Portal 2, and I beat Portal 2 second time. I just want to experience that game again. And there were some achievements I hadn't gotten, and that was really fun. Just a brilliant game. And then I have now gone in and am now playing Lego Harry Potter, which I am not super far into. But I just wanted to touch on the fact that we hit a bunch of games. My gamer score went friggin' through the roof over 2 weeks. It's nuts. And I'm a member of the Xbox Live Rewards. Did you guys sign up for that?
No, what is that?
It's just, I don't know, just a little program where based on your gamer score, you get money. And so...
Like actual money?
Like points on the Microsoft store or whatever. And so... you get, it's like thresholds that are like kind of ridiculous, like 20,000 points, which is not a lot of people get to 20,000 points in and of itself. You get like $4 or something like that, and then it goes up and up and up, but it's to like crazy amounts, and you get like, hey, we'll give you $10 if you make it to 100,000 gamer score or something. So there's not significance, but I was a part of this thing, and I always wanted to actually get something, and I passed 20,000 points, so I got like $4.
Yeah, buddy.
But it was nice. Yeah, it was nice. But anyways, it was. I can't say enough about State of Decay. Highly encourage you guys to check it out. I mean, $20. And the other nice thing is when you complete the story of that game, it saves your game before the story ends. So if you're done with the story and you get your achievements or whatever, you can go back and just keep playing the game. And it is a limited world and there are limited resources in it, but you'd have to spend, 40 hours in that world before you'd have collected every single thing and done, everything there is to do and see. There's certainly, room like in any game to advance, like you can see the potential, but I would be shocked if you do not see this as a full-fledged retail game with multiplayer next year. Shocked.
That sounds cool.
So I wanted to let me just look up the numbers.
Maybe if I come over, you have to load it up so I could just see.
Oh yeah,
I did get on that note. Josh found some. Right now, Xbox has had all these free, basically sort of rewarding people who have Xbox Live accounts, and they've been doing it. It's like once a week, Jason, or once a month. They've been giving away free full titles on Xbox Live.
Yeah, it's called the program's called Games with Gold.
Yeah,
every 2 weeks there's a free game, big full-on retail game.
Dude, I downloaded.
I should log in every once in a while.
Yeah,
it's been a long time since I've
Dead
logged
Rising
into
2 and a Dead Rising 2 expansion pack. I was like, well, whatever, got them.
I got so the first one was Fable 3. I got that, and then after Fable 3, it was Assassin's Creed 2, and then Crackdown, which I got Crackdown, and now currently it's
Dead Rising.
Dead Rising 2 with the
expansion.
Case Zero. And then we don't know what the next ones are yet. I don't believe they've been announced. But it goes all the way up through December. And so you're going to have a crap load of free games coming your way.
And then probably next week we'll dive into. I want to dive into all the Call of Duty Ghost stuff that got announced and the multiplayer reveal that was announced for all my Call of Duty peeps out there. And also, there's a new map pack. What's today? It comes out on the 20th. The last one for Black Ops 2. The last hurrah for people who paid for that service. It's your chance, but there's some new cool multiplayer stuff for the new Call of Duty, so I wanna be able to talk about that. But
I'm trying very hard to find all of the numbers for these two games for Minecraft and State of Decay. So I'm sorry. Give me a second. Keep rolling with something, Jack.
No, what I was gonna say is so the last map pack's out, and we're coming to a tail end of another Call of Duty franchise, which I'm fortunately or unfortunately still extremely addicted to. They announced the multiplayer stuff for Call of Duty Ghost. They also announced the different packages you can buy, like your editions, like Hardened Edition, your Prestige Edition. This year in the Prestige Edition for Call of Duty Ghost, it's going to come with an action camera, think like a GoPro that you can mount. Comes with that one. It also comes with the entire season of DLC, so everything that comes out for Call of Duty Ghosts you get. One of the announcements that I actually thought was cool was I've been on the fence of, well, what do you buy it for? Do you buy the game? Because they're going to release for Xbox 360 and they're going to release for Xbox One. And with me in general, it's like, because I'm a multiplayer guy, hey, where's everybody going to play on? And a lot of people right now I know aren't getting the Xbox One right out of the bat. So I'll probably get it for the 360. But it made me wonder, I'm like, well, crap, if I switch to an Xbox One, I'm going to have to, I'm going to rebuy the game and crap, I'm going to have to re-download all this stuff and set up my character and all this. They've set it up now that everything you purchase through Xbox 360, if you get that version, will all transfer over to Xbox One.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is really nice. And I was extremely impressed that they were willing to do that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the Prestige edition of the game is $199, I believe. The one that comes with the camera, the DLC, all the crap. Me, as much as I play the game, I almost congested. I don't need the camera. I'll probably get the Hardened edition because that comes with the DLC, and I don't need the camera. I have the GoPro that we shoot the show with. But no, I'm in general, But yeah, in general, excited about it, and we'll talk about some of the other things they've changed next show. But
I will have to get back on exact numbers. I believe Minecraft has sold 8 million copies. I'm not sure how many State of Decay has sold. However, it sold 250,000 copies in 2 days, which is the fastest selling
like a boss
in history, in Microsoft's history. So
with that.
Yeah, so we're back, 3.0. Thank you for listening to us
very much, spread the word that we're back.
Yes, absolutely. And
Let's
we
get
will
it out
be
there.
We will be back returning now weekly again, coming at you Wednesday nights, hopefully posted Wednesday nights if I can get around to it. And we just appreciate all of the support and fandom and everything, and you guys are awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Nerdtastic in 3D. My name is Jason Carter.
I'm Jack.
I'm Sean Cole.
Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Good night.
Nerdtastic in 3D.